Hello everyone and welcome back to Andrina's Creations. Today I will be showing you part 4. If you haven't watched part 1 through part 3, feel free to stop this video and go ahead and watch part 1 through part 3. In part 4, I am going to show you how to design the M and the N. The M and the N are not going to be shaker letters, so this one's going to be very beginner friendly because you're not going to have to be cutting out so many pieces to make it as a shaker. If you watch part 3, you will know that I like to glue my tabs in the back. And that's why I am going to right click and duplicate the first shape of the letter. So I'm able to have an extra piece to glue in the back so you do not see the tabs. You do not need to do that if you're gluing the tabs in the inside, which I still highly recommend so your letters are thicker. As you see here, I'm showing you guys that I'm now right click and duplicating the one that has the little shapes, so I don't have to go ahead and delete that. So all I'm doing is right click and duplicating the first letter. I'm going to do that with the M, and I'm going to also do that with the N. If by any means you are cutting the back of glitter cardstock or pattern cardstock, do not forget to right click and flip horizontal so the image could go on the back of your letter. I am not going to do that because I'm cutting mine out of regular purple cardstock. Also, don't forget to color all your template the color of cardstock that you are going to be cutting it out, so later on you do not get confused on what color cardstock you want it to use. Do not forget before you start anything to change your paper size. Depending on the measurement of your letter, you're going to use 8 by 11 or 12 by 12 cardstock. You go on the first icon on your right, which is the page icon. Change your media size to 12 by 12 or 8 by 11. In part 2, I already showed you wherever I got all my images. Here we're going to be doing a lot of tracing and subtracting, etc. So just follow along. You do not need to do everything that I'm doing here, but this was an order that I already shipped out, so I'm going to show you exactly how I designed these letters. First, I'm going to start with the letter M. So I'm going to grab the M and I'm going to right click and duplicate it. For this M, I want some gold scales to go in front of my letter M. So I have this image and I want to trace those scales. So how would I trace those scales is I am going to go on my trace icon on my right. I am going to click the select icon. Again, if you don't know the name of your icons, just put your mouse over your icons on your right. And again, I'm going to select the trace icon, click where it says select trace area. I am going to make a box around the image. I am going to wait till everything turns yellow. Once it turns yellow, I am going to go up on the threshold to make sure everything's highlighted yellow. Then I'm going to click on trace. Then once I click on trace, I am going to wait until the software traces everything. I'm going to click on the image, click delete on my keyboard. I'm going to click on the image to color it a different color so y'all can see it on the screen. After I do that, I am going to right click and release compound path. After I right click and release compound path, I am going to go to my modify panel and I am going to click on subtract all. It might look like nothing happened, but if I click somewhere else on my screen and I'm going to move that image to the side, and as you can see, it subtracted all those scales. I'm going to select everything and delete on my keyboard. Now I want an internal offset on my letter M, so I'm going to click on this M and I'm going to right click and duplicate it. When I have my M selected, I am going to go to my offset panel and click on internal offset. You're going to go with the distance of your choice. I am going to color it so y'all can see it here on the screen what's going on. I also do not want my internal offset to be curved, so where it says corner, I'm going to click it so it could be a rectangle corners. I don't want the inside to be rounded. I am going to color it so y'all can see it, and then I'm going to make sure that both are selected by clicking on my screen, dragging my mouse and making sure both M's are selected. I'm going to go back to my modify panel and click subtract all, click somewhere on my screen, click on the black M, click delete on my keyboard. Now I am going to put the scales on top of the first M. Remember, the scales have to be in the front. If by any means they are in the back, just right click and bring to the front. Now that my scales are in the front, I'm going to size it to make sure that they are covering exactly my M. I'm going to put it right in the front. I'm going to make sure that I have both of them selected by clicking somewhere else on my screen and dragging my mouse to select them both. I'm going to go to my modify panel and click on divide. Once I click on divide, I am going to click on the scales and move them to the side. Then I am going to click on my screen, drag my mouse to select all that extra stuff and click delete on my keyboard. Then I'm going to grab the internal of the M and the scales, drag my mouse to select both. I am going to go to my transform icon and click on the second option of center so they can be centered together. I'm going to right click and I'm going to weld. I want to cut these scales out of gold cardstock. So if you've seen previously, I like to even add the color that I'm going to be cutting it out. So I got this gold background. I'm going to right click and send it to the back. Make sure I select them both. Go to my modify panel and I am going to click on crop. Now these scales are going to be glued on top of the original M. So I'm going to go and get the M and I'm going to add a background. So I'm going to do a print and cut on that background. So I'm just going to extend this background, right click, send it to the back. Make sure I grab both by clicking on my screen, drag my mouse, go to the modify panel and click on crop. Then I am going to select both of these M's. I am going to click somewhere on my screen, drag my mouse, go to my transform panel and click on the second option of center. Now I am going to go grab the images that I'm going to be adding here. I am going to be adding some octopus and some 3 bubbles on my left. And I'm going to be adding the shell on the bottom right. But before then, I'm going to start adding wherever I want these images to go. After you place your images where you want them to go, you're going to start adding your layers. I'm going to first start with the octopus. I'm going to click on the octopus, go to the offset icon and click on offset. After I click on offset, you're going to play around with the distance of your choice. I am going to go down just a little bit and I am going to color it so y'all can see it here on the screen. Color it the color of cardstock that you are going to be cutting it out. While that offset is still selected, I'm going to go back to offset, click on the offset and select the distance of your choice. And I'm going to color this one black just so y'all can see it here as well. Then I am going to click on one bubble, hold my shift key to select all the bubbles at the same time. Let go of the shift key, go to the offset icon and create some offsets. And I'm going to be creating 2 offsets. The black offsets, I actually want to cut them out with the gold scales. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the black offset of the bubbles, hold my shift key, click on the black offset of the octopus, then click on the gold scales. So I have all three selected while holding the shift key. I am going to right click and weld them together. Then as you can see, it went to the back, so I'm just going to click on the gold scales, right click and send it to the back, and then I'm going to click on the image and send it to the back. Then if I move these to the side, you will see that the layer of the gold is actually welded with the scale. So I wouldn't have to cut no extra gold cardstock, if that makes sense. Okay, now I'm gonna go get this image and I am going to trace it because I want those corals. So all I'm going to do is go to my trace icon, click on select trace area. Then I am going to make a box around the image. I am going to wait till everything turns yellow. Once it turns yellow, I am going to go up on the threshold, so make sure that everything is highlighted yellow. Click on trace, wait till everything traces. After it traces, I am going to click on the image, click delete on my keyboard. I'm going to select the image and color it so y'all can see it. I'm going to right click release compound path, and I am going to move the ones to the side that I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to delete the rest. I'm going to start coloring them the color of cardstock that I want to cut them out of, and I'm going to size them to whatever size I think it looks good and start placing them in front of the M where I want them to go. I'm going to go ahead and grab this shell and bring it to the front, and I am going to start adding layers to this shell. So how do you add layers? It's the same steps, guys. You're going to go to your offset icon and you are going to click on how many layers you want to add, and then color them the color of cardstock you are going to be cutting them out of. When I cut everything out, I'm actually going to glue a gem in the middle of the shell. Anyways, I'm going to select the entire M And I am going to go ahead and remove all those red outlines. If y'all know, I don't like to see nothing with a red outline, so I'm going to put no color on the red outline. And once you're satisfied on how your image looks, you are going to select the entire M and you are going to right click, group it, right click and duplicate it, and go ahead and put it with the other images, so when you're ready to assemble them, you know where everything goes. And now we are going to start doing the letter N. All right, for the letter N, I'm actually going to do something different. So I am going to leave this N just like that, and I want to do an internal offset inside of the N because I want the back to be the original color purple, and I'm going to design the internal offset. So I click on the N, went to my offset icon, click on the corner to be rectangle cornered, and click on internal offset, and this is how it's going to be looking. So I'm going to move the internal offset to the side. I'm going to click on the N and delete because I'm not going to be designing that one. Now on this internal offset N, I'm going to right click and duplicate it because I am going to be cutting that one out, so I know exactly where to glue the pieces that we're going to design. I'm going to go to my left and grab the knife tool. I'm going to select the knife tool and hold down my shift key, and I'm going to cut right in the middle of the N. Then I'm going to let go of the knife tool, let go of the shift key, and now I'm left with two pieces. I am going to add a background to the bottom of the N and the top of the N. Now, the top of the N, I want it to be a holographic cardstock, so I'm just going to color it holographic, and then the bottom, I want it to have the mermaid scales, which this part is going to be a print and cut. Again, I move the backgrounds, I right click, send it to the back, click on the bottom of the N, click on the background holding my shift key, go to the modify panel and click on crop, and I'm going to do the same thing with the top one. Now remember, the top holographic, I'm cutting that out of holographic cardstock, but I just like to see how everything's going to look before I cut it out. Now I'm going to get the other image that I'm going to trace, and then I'm going to go to my trace icon. I am going to click on it, then click where it says select trace area, make a box around the image. I'm going to wait till everything turns yellow. Then I'm going to go up on my threshold until everything is highlighted yellow. Click on trace, wait till everything traces. Then I am going to click on the image, click delete on my keyboard. Click on the image, release compound path, delete the ones I don't want, and I'm going to select everything, go ahead and color it green. And now I am going to remove the outline color, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. So I'm going to be adding this piece right here. I'm going to right click and duplicate that piece, right click and flip horizontal and add it right here. I want to weld all these pieces together so I could cut as one piece. So I'm going to select everything and I am going to right click and weld. Then I'm going to add this piece exactly where I want it to go on my N. Now I'm going to go grab the mermaid and I am going to start adding as many layers that you want on her. I'm only going to add 2 layers. So while she is selected, I'm going to go to my offset panel, click on offset and make sure that I color the offsets of the color cardstock that I'm going to be cutting it on. After that, I'm going to group her together and add her where I want her to go on the end, and don't forget to remove the outline color. Once you like how everything looks, don't forget to group it together and duplicate it so you can go ahead and add it with the rest of the letters, so when you are going to start assembling, you know where all the pieces go. Now make sure that you start ungrouping everything from all the layers. Remember when I said I was going to cut an extra end? It's because so I could know exactly where to glue the holographic end and the scales end. Now start putting everything into sections on how I did it in part 3 when we was going to assemble the shaker ones. I'm going to add all the print and cut into one section, all the gold in one section, holographic in one section, pink, blue, and so on. Once you have everything into sections and you are ready to do a print and cut, you are going to change your settings to your paper. You're going to click on the first icon that is your paper size, go to your media size and change it to 8 by 11. Then on your third option on your page setup, you're going to turn on your registration marks and put thickness all the way to 100. Then you are going to add all your print and cut images to the paper, as many as it fits. After you do all that, you're going to click on the printer icon. You are going to click on print, select the printer of your choice, click on preferences, and I am going to select paper tray. I am going to click on 8 by 11 and premium presentation paper matte. Click on OK, click on print. Then I'm going to go to the send tab and put all my settings after I load my paper to my mat and load my mat to my cutting machine. After you are doing all your print and cuts, don't forget to turn off your registration marks in the page setup, your first icon. Change your paper size back to 12 by 12 and start cutting out all your pieces, as many pink as it fits on that paper, as many blue, and etc. Now, if y'all know from part 3, I like to cut extra pieces to go on the back of all my print and cuts, just so it could be more sturdy, and on other pieces like the bubbles and stuff like that on the shell, just so it could be sturdy. You don't have to do that step, but I like to do that. How will you do that? You will add all those images back on your mat. This is not going to be a print and cut. The machine is just going to cut out the shape. If you don't want to get confused, just change the color of the images and you know that those pieces are going to be getting cut out of regular cardstock, and you're going to glue those pieces in the back, okay? And that's all. After you do all this, you're going to print and cut everything out. You are ready to start assembling. So I'm going to do all this and I'll see you over there. All right, putting them together should be fairly easy if you already watched all the other parts on how to assemble the shaker ones. It's going to be the same process. So I'm going to put all these pieces to the side. Don't forget to leave your template on the screen so you know where your pieces go. And I cut out 3 M's. Then you're going to fold them exactly how they're going to go and fold your score marks. Add your marbles in the bottom. Then you're going to glue your piece on the top. Grab your printed image and then glue it on the top. Then I'm going to glue the gold part. If you hear that sound in the background, I apologize. That's a humidifier I have in my office. If you did 2 cuts for your pieces, like if you did a backing for it, start gluing them now on top of each other so it can be thicker. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue all the parts that I double cut it. I'm going to add my foam tape in the back. I added hot glue on the foam tape because it's gonna go on top of glitter. Thank you. All right, guys, this is how they turned out. I think they turned out so beautiful. Let me comment down below which one of them you like best. I love them both, but I'm gonna give you a close-up on how they look. If you made it to the end, all the way to part 4, I want to say thank you so much for the continuous support and watching all these videos. I make these videos to show you guys that you also can make money out here. I know a lot of people feel intimidated that they can't do these crafts because they look intimidated, but that's why I broke it down into so many different parts so you too can learn. And if you missed part 1 through part 3, don't forget to go back and watch all the parts so you can too make them. Don't forget to join my crafting group on Facebook, Andrina's Kreations Crafting Lounge. Feel free to answer all 3 questions to get approved, and if you do make them, feel free to post your work. I would love to see. As always, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell to get notified every time I upload any new videos. Comment down below what was your best part, either part 1 through part 4. Also comment which of these letters you love the best. I hope everyone's having a blessed day, and I'll see you on my next tutorial. Bye bye, guys.